Hi, welcome to another episode of Misunderstood Movies, the show where I talk about movies that have been branded as bad, but are actually pretty good if you look really closely at them. I'm your host, Alex Consalvos, aka Velociraptor4U. When it comes to Marvel Comics superheroes, there's plenty to choose from. We got Wolverine, we got Spider-Man, the Incredible Hulk, the Fantastic Four, Captain America, and many, many more. But those said many other Marvel characters are either overlooked or even despised for one reason or another. Well, today I'm going to talk about a movie that stars one of these underrated Marvel characters. I'm talking about Howard the Duck.
Yes, Howard the Duck. I know. But folks, hear me out for a moment. To me personally, it's truly not what others make it out to be, and I shall explain why. But first, here's a little bit of history about the character himself and how his movie came to be. At first glance, Howard the Duck doesn't look like the kind of character to come from an entity best known for superheroes and villains. If anything, Howard has more in common with other famous fictional ducks like Donald and Daffy. But it's true. Howard does indeed hail from the Marvel Universe. No, he's not a creation of Stan Lee, but of the late comic book writers Steve Gerber and penciler Val Mayerick. Howard first appeared in issue 19 of Marvel's Adventure into Fear series in December of 1973. Gerber and Mayerick intended the character to be Marvel's own anthropomorphic addition to the funny animals genre of fiction, characterizing him as a cigar-chomping, ill-tempered fowl who hails from a planet of similar anthropomorphic animals, and who suddenly finds himself abducted from his home planet and dropped on Earth, hence the recurring tagline of his comics, "Trapped in a world he never made." After his debut appearance, Howard went on to star in his own backup feature in an issue of giant-sized Man-Thing, before getting his own comic book series that began in 1976. His adventures from then on consisted of mostly various satires on social issues, as well as parodies of different fictional genres. Howard, like other Marvel superheroes, would go on to have a friend-slash-love interest in model Beverly Switzer, and his own rogues gallery of villains, most notably Dr. Bong. By the early 1980s, the popularity that Howard the Duck was receiving didn't go unnoticed by Star Wars creator George Lucas. Director Willard Huyck and his wife and producer Gloria Katz met Lucas at film school. In 1984, when Lucas stepped down as president of Lucasfilm, he decided to focus on producing films, and upon discovering the Howard the Duck comics, he became attracted to them because of their rather absurd humor and their elements of film noir. It was then that Lucas began to seriously consider producing a film adaptation of the comics. He got in touch with Willard and Gloria, and they were soon on board with the project, and eventually all three of them met with Steve Gerber to discuss it, although Steve recounted that at his meeting with the three, he stated that Lucas was not yet officially on board with the film. Whatever the case, Universal Studios optioned the film, after passing years before on Lucas's previous films, which went on to become successful. Now the film was to become a reality. Initially, Willard and Gloria wanted it to be animated. However, due to a contractual obligation that Lucas had, the film instead became entirely live action, with practical effects by Lucasfilm and visual effects by Industrial Light and Magic. Now, onto the fruits of Lucas, Willard, and Gloria's labor that was released on August 1st, 1986.
Duck, man.
Howard the Duck, trapped in a world he never made. Coming from George Lucas, a Willard Huyck film, a Gloria Katz production.
Howard the Duck opens on Duck World, a planet that's similar to Earth, only that it's inhabited entirely by anthropomorphic ducks. It's here where we meet Howard T. Duck, played by Ed Gale and voiced by Chip Zien. As we see him return to his apartment after a long day, the look that we're given around the apartment establishes what Duck World is like. Howard collapses into his armchair, flips on the TV, and starts to read the latest issue of Play Duck magazine. But suddenly, Howard's apartment begins to shake, and the next thing he knows, still sitting in his armchair, he's being catapulted through the apartment building and out into the night sky, deep through outer space, and then finally landing on Earth. Specifically, Howard lands in Cleveland, Ohio, where he has one misadventure after another. It's while hiding in a trash can that Howard encounters lead singer of the local female rock band Cherry Bomb, Beverly Switzer, played by Leah Thompson. As she's being assaulted by a couple of street punks, Howard decides to step in.
That's it. No more Mr. Nice Duck. Huh? Let the female creature go. No one laughs at a master of quack foo. Now, you and Babyface are gonna beat it, right, Mr. Zitz? Before I get really mad. Come on! Let's go! This is obviously no place for an intelligent, sensitive duck.
Though weirded out initially upon seeing him, Beverly is nonetheless grateful to Howard for saving her, and she offers to take him back to her apartment for the night, which he accepts. The next day, Howard and Beverly pay a visit to her friend, a scientist, actually a janitor, named Phil Blumbert, played by Tim Robbins, in the hopes that he can help them return Howard to his home world. Unfortunately, Phil's scientific intuition gets the better of him upon meeting the anthropomorphic duck.
Nice ducky. Me, Phil. You, Howard. We be friends.
Ugh. Undoubtedly, one of Earth's greatest minds here.
Feeling like an outcast after the meeting, Howard gets into an argument with Beverly and rejects her help.
Don't shed any tears over me, Toots!
You can wallow in your own self-pity!
He does manage to get a job in town as a janitor at a romance spa, but it doesn't last, and Howard's travels afterwards lead him back to the club where Cherry Bomb performs. He gets into a fight with the band's manager, coming out on top and getting the manager to cough up the money he owes to the band. He's thus reunited with Beverly, and the two return to her apartment, where what follows is a, shall we say, cute but questionable flirting session.
Can't seem to find the right man.
Maybe it's not a man you should be looking for.
You think I might find happiness in the animal kingdom, Ducky?
Like they say, Dal. Love's strange. We could always give it a try.
The pair are interrupted when Phil comes in accompanied by two of his fellow scientific colleagues, one of them being Dr. Walter Jennings, played by Jeffrey Jones. There, they explain that a device they invented that has the power to jump to other dimensions was aimed at Duck World when it was activated, causing Howard to be transported to Earth. Phil and Jennings theorize that reversing the process using the device will send Howard back, and for the moment it looks like he is going home, though he expresses regret about leaving to Beverly, for she was his first true friend on Earth. However, when the group arrives at the institute where the device is located, they're shocked to discover that an accident occurred when it was reactivated.
My eyes! It exploded again. It was terrible. We have no right to tamper with the universe.
This does not bode well.
This accident has allowed some other life form from space to come to Earth as well. one that slowly possesses Dr. Jennings after he, Howard, and Beverly escape from cops that have infiltrated the Institute. A scary car ride later, the three stop at a diner where the life form that has possessed Jennings makes itself known.
I'm not Jennings anymore. The transformation is complete. I am now someone else.
Inside the scientist is an evil alien creature called the Dark Overlord, brought to Earth the same way that Howard was, only deposited into Jennings, literally. With his alien powers growing, Jennings Overlord stops another fight between Howard and the diner's patrons and staff with a frightening display of his powers that wrecks the diner.
If you can't take the heat, get out of that kitchen!
He makes off with Beverly, planning to use her in his diabolical plan to use the dimensional device to bring down more Dark Overlords like him to Earth. Phil soon rejoins Howard, and the two of them steal an ultralight aircraft and commandeer it over the Cleveland area, searching for the Dark Overlord and Beverly, while desperately outrunning the police. After the chase, Howard and Phil locate the Dark Overlord and his hostage back at the Institute. In the first half of the battle that follows, Howard uses a neutron disintegrator laser on the Dark Overlord, but only succeeds in extracting him out of Dr. Jennings, revealing his foe's true monstrous form. With time running out before more Dark Overlords arrive on Earth, Howard succeeds in killing the monster. Though sad that it means he'll never return to Duck World, Howard knows that it's the only way to save Earth, and he uses the laser to destroy the dimensional machine.
Goodbye, Duck World.
Get out of there! Run!
10 seconds and counting to arrival. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Arrival.
Howard, Phil, and Beverly are all okay after the ordeal, and Howard himself later becomes the new manager of Cherry Bomb, joining the band on stage at their new concert with an awesome guitar solo. And that brings Howard the Duck to a close, folks. The film was made on a budget of an estimated $35 million. Unfortunately, it only grossed around $16 million at the box office, thus making it a financial flop. If that wasn't bad enough, the critical reaction to the film by critics and moviegoers was even worse. To this day, Howard the Duck still remains on a lot of people's most hated movies or bad movies lists, and it's gained the dubious and personally unfair label of being one of the worst films ever made. My God, what is it about this film that's caused it to be drowned in continuous hate? Well, one of the primary reasons lies in the fact that it was made in live action as opposed to animation. How Howard was brought to life on screen became a primary target among film critics, various reviews stating that the suit-performing/animatronic technique resulted in Howard, as well as the other residents of Duck World, coming across as unconvincing and unlikable. But to me personally, the final result helps in fleshing out the character, and Howard certainly moves and acts convincingly for me. The Lucasfilm team actually went through a lot of trial and error in building the animatronic duck heads for the suits. It said that many of them either exploded or lost feathers initially. And the final ones that you see in the film, for me at least, succeed in presenting realistic anthropomorphic ducks if such a thing existed in real life. Because of the fact that ducks have bills, it's Howard's eye movements that convey emotion in him mostly. Chip Zine's voice for Howard fits perfectly, I feel, working with the actions of the off-screen puppeteers smoothly to make Howard a fully developed three-dimensional character, with a truly good-natured, if at times harsh and lecherous, personality.
Is this gonna be easy? Or is this gonna be trouble?
Howard's on-screen personality is actually in stark contrast to what he's like in the comics, where he's portrayed as more rude and sarcastic and less nice. This was a decision on Willard and Gloria's parts during the script writing process to develop Howard as the main protagonist, and Steve Gerber stated that the final film kept the spirit of Howard from the comics, as well as Beverly. And speaking of Beverly, I feel that Leah Thompson does a truly good job at playing her. Is Beverly ditzy? A little bit. But that's part of her character, and it's an aspect that's supposed to make her a fun and humorous character. Leah's performance does not make Beverly come across as unlikable to me, but instead as cute, good-hearted, and faithful to those she cares for. Also, in case you're wondering, yes, you're actually hearing Leah's voice during the scenes where she's singing. A pretty nice voice considering the role, I feel. English musician Thomas Dolby, who wrote the songs for the film, taught Leah and the other actresses playing the members of Cherry Bomb singing and choreography lessons so that the band's on-screen performance would be synchronized. I also like Beverly's look. In fact, Leah Thompson stated that she personally picked out Beverly's outfits so that she'd come across as a, quote, cross between Madonna and Cyndi Lauper. I also happen to enjoy Tim Robbins' performance as bumbling janitorial scientist Phil. He is taken over by his scientist's intuition when he first meets Howard.
Howard!
Oi.
But he does evolve over the course of the film into not only added comic relief, but also an ally to Howard and Beverly, his scientific knowledge actually helping them to defeat the Dark Overlord in the final act. And speaking of the Dark Overlord,
I'm dead.
Yes, you are.
Jeffrey Jones's performance really amazes me. The evolution that his character undergoes has a flow to it, and Jeffrey's voice and acting under all that practical makeup helps flesh out the Dark Overlord into a villain with clear motivations, and one that's both funny and frightening. Industrial Light and Magic's visual and practical effects for the villain's myriad powers, I feel, let us know that no matter how goofy he appears to be, he's anything but goofy, and is a powerful, dangerous force to be reckoned with.
I want to see your license, Jack.
I have no license. I am not Jack.
The animation for the Dark Overlord in his true form is one of the best and most badass effects work I've seen in a film like this. Phil Tippett brought this monster to life through Go Motion Animation, a high-tech version of traditional stop-motion animation in which motion blur is added to each frame, and the result on screen shows Phil's passion and craftsmanship as a character animator. Now that I've discussed what I do like about Howard the Duck, you may be wondering if there's anything about it that I dislike. Well, there is, actually, and it's something that others who loathe this film would most likely agree with me on. The blatant sexual innuendos.
Howard.
For example, in the opening sequence, we see this.
I'm such a lucky girl in love.
Duck boobs? Why is that in the movie? How did the film get away with a PG rating with something like that in the picture? It's a mystery to everyone who's seen it, and Willard, Gloria, and Lucas aren't talking. My personal theory is that the duck knockers add to the anthropomorphism of Howard and Duck World, along with the other in-jokes about how Duck World is a parallel version of Earth, but with everything about it being about ducks. Personally, I do enjoy the other in-jokes, but I think the duck boobs should have been left on the cutting room floor. That also goes for the romance spa scene as well. With content such as this, it makes you wonder who exactly this film was aimed at, kids or adults. This content, to me, seems to reflect indecisiveness on the part of the director, producers, and crew regarding the film's target audience. Gloria Katz once stated that, "It's a film about a duck from outer space. It's not supposed to be an existential experience. We're supposed to have fun with this concept, but for some reason reviewers weren't able to get over that problem." Personally, I think she's right. When you watch Howard the Duck, you can clearly see that it was intended to be a fun movie, something that you're supposed to have fun watching. Somehow, it appears that major critics didn't understand that about the film, and that that's what it was supposed to be like. The comics are described as existential, and even though the film doesn't incorporate a lot of that, I personally think that it doesn't hurt it in any way. And in regards to the comics being existential jokes, Steve Gerber said that, "This is no joke. There it is, the cosmic giggle, the funniest gag in the universe. That life's most serious moments and most incredibly dumb moments are often distinguishable only by a momentary point of view. Anyone who doesn't believe this probably cannot enjoy reading Howard the Duck." And I think the same can be said for those who didn't enjoy the film as well. Even though it's a loose adaptation of the comics, the film was nonetheless made to be a fun movie-going experience. Are the story, concept, and humor absurd? Yes, they are. But they were intended to be so, because though existential, the comics themselves were also absurd. And I've never seen, heard, or read anything negative so far about the comics. I, for one, understand that. And that's how I approach it. So if you can understand that regarding the film, and if you do enjoy absurd cinematic stories, concepts, and humor, then you'll most likely love Howard the Duck also. And in fact, George Lucas once said that even if people didn't like the film upon its release, it would gain an audience that approached it with a positive attitude in later years. He was right. Today, Howard the Duck has become a cult classic, and has gained its own fan base of supporters and fans who feel that it's been treated unfairly, something to which I agree with. Ed Gale, the one who was primarily in the Howard suit during production, stated that he receives more fan mail for his role as Howard than for playing Chucky in the Child's Play films. Leah Thompson and Tim Robbins went on to have more successes in acting after Howard the Duck, with Robbins himself going on to star in critically acclaimed films such as The Shawshank Redemption and Mystic River. And as a character, Howard has not been forgotten by Marvel following the film. He currently stars in a new comic series which sees him in the role of private detective. He's also been referenced to and has shown up in Marvel titles outside of the mainstream Marvel universe. Plus, take a look at the post-credits scene from Guardians of the Galaxy.
What do you let it lick you like that for? Gross. Your bird's going down.
With that cameo, what exactly does the future hold for Howard now? While a new solo film about him isn't on the way anytime soon, this does show that Howard will always have a place in Marvel, and that his future looks pretty bright indeed.
Not bad for a duck from outer space.
You were great, Ducky.
Well, this about wraps up another episode of Misunderstood Movies. I'd like to thank you all for watching, and until next time, this is Alex Consalvos, aka Velociraptor for you, signing off.